Many remember Forrest Gump as a somewhat odd man who unbelievably lucked out. But psychologists like the film for a very different reason. They see a person whom life repeatedly placed in harsh circumstances but never managed to break. It's striking that many of the principles that helped Forrest get through crises closely resemble Jesus' teaching. It's also interesting that Forrest Gump mentions Jesus in the film. When someone asked him, "Gump, have you found Jesus yet?" he replied, "I didn't know you were supposed to look for him." Forrest almost never argued with reality. If he had to run, he ran. If he had to play ping pong in a competition, he played. If a loved one died, he went on living. If he had to sing in an African-American church choir, he sang. He didn't waste energy on endless thoughts about how things ought to have been. Reality was already there, and he simply stepped into it. Jesus spoke and lived in a similar way. He did not promise people a life without pain, but he taught them not to lose themselves amid their circumstances. Even in his own suffering, he did not deny what was happening or argue with it. He simply went through it. Forrest almost always lived in what was happening right now. During a table tennis match, there was only the ball. When he ran, there was only the road. When he was catching shrimp, there was only the sea. He didn't live in yesterday's defeats and rarely worried about the future. Jesus likewise brought people back to the present. He said not to worry about tomorrow because each day already has enough concerns. Real life doesn't take place in memories or anxious anticipations, but right now. You must live now, not tomorrow or even later tonight. Forrest didn't blame anyone. He was hurt, laughed at, used, but he didn't turn his life into a long list of complaints. He continued to love people as they were. Jesus taught not to judge others and even to love your enemies. A person becomes freer when he stops building his life around other people's mistakes. Forrest's most surprising quality was his inner steadiness. His mother told him from childhood that he was no worse than anyone else. Those simple words became part of who he was. Mockery hardly ever got under his skin. He didn't need to constantly prove his worth. Here are more words from Gump's mother that he lived by his whole life. You have to do the best with what God gave you. Jesus offers an even firmer foundation. He says each person can consider themselves a son or daughter of the Heavenly Father. A person's value is not determined by the opinion of the crowd, nor by successes or failures, but by God's love. Forrest never tried to control his life completely. He simply took the next step. One step led to another, then to a third, and slowly, an amazing story took shape. Jesus also rarely revealed the whole path to people in advance. He simply said, "Follow me." A long road begins with a single step taken today. You have to keep moving forward and let things be what they will. Another feature of Forrest's personality was that he was hardly driven by a desire for success. He didn't dream of becoming a famous athlete, a war hero, or a rich man. All of that came as a byproduct of honestly doing what he did. Jesus taught to seek first God's kingdom and righteousness, not wealth, fame, or position. When a person focuses on the right direction, many other things fall into place, just as in Forrest Gump's life. Forrest was an amazingly simple man in that well-known film. He didn't construct elaborate philosophical theories, didn't try to seem smarter than others, and didn't get tangled in endless arguments. That simplicity often proved wiser than the calculations of those around him. Jesus also spoke plainly. His stories were understood by fishermen, children, farmers, and ordinary people of Galilee. He explained the deepest truths through tales of seeds, bread, sheep, and vineyards. He described a person's relationship with God through family life. All that said, there is a vast difference between the fictional character Forrest Gump and the real person Jesus. Forrest seems to have preserved a childlike purity and naivety, as if following Christ's command to be like children. He rarely reflected on the nature of evil. Jesus saw human evil in all its depth. He encountered hypocrisy, cruelty, betrayal, injustice, and violence almost every day. His love was not the result of naivete. It was the conscious choice of someone who fully understood how complicated the world is. That is why his words remain so powerful 2,000 years later. Jesus does not offer an escape from reality. He shows how to keep love, peace, and dignity right within it. If Christians became like Forrest Gump while consciously following Jesus, the world might stop recognizing them by the usual religious signs. The person who would step forward would not be a churchy type, but someone you feel peaceful beside. A person who doesn't judge, doesn't complain, doesn't feel the need to prove their right to everyone, doesn't live in fear, and doesn't chase recognition. Someone who simply loves, does good, remains faithful, can take joy in simple things, and endures trials without losing dignity. It seems the first followers of Jesus were exactly that sort of people. They were remembered not because they talked a lot about faith, but because in their presence people for the first time felt what true human life could be like.